activate our phone. Let's be super profesh about this slapdash unprofessional podcast. And speaking of slapdash, welcome to the Transmit Podcast, the Super Awesome Showdown offsuit. And today we have another new guy. Please introduce yourself.
Colorado Kid.
The Colorado Kid, and your given Christian name?
Mike Rapada.
Mike Rapada. And once again, we have Mace and Zedaker with us.
Yep, that's me.
And I'm Spike. So what I wanted to ask Mike, getting right into it, how'd you get your start in wrestling?
Well, it was hard to do, actually. I was supposed to get in it whenever I was 18, but I didn't make it in there till I was almost 27. So I had a little head start, and as far as the other rookies, they were a lot younger than I was, so it was easier for me to advance around them. But I got my start whenever I met Jeff Jarrett at the Coliseum in Nashville, the downtown Coliseum, and asked him, where do I begin training?
And that's something that, I found too. I joined the Navy a little later, and being a little more mature does really help you a lot. Because you're surrounded by people who are more like puppies, and you're a little calmer. You're still a dude who's kind of young, but you're just a little more calm about the whole thing, and that seems to help a lot.
Oh, yeah. It helps if you've got more of a mature attitude in the business. It'll get you a lot further than if you've got an immature attitude.
Yeah, Mason, you mentioned that you were a bit more energetic earlier on in your career, and did that just go with age, or did you learn was it like a movie where you learned a lesson?
Well, yeah, kind of. I had almost the exact opposite entrance into the pro wrestling business. I started when I was 16. I was hot-headed. I was a jerk. I was full of myself, and I made a real bad reputation really fucking quick at the beginning of my career. That probably took me, the better part of a decade to actually, Not so much like, I think I learned my lesson pretty early on, but to actually pay the price and get, a modicum of respect back. It took me the better part of a decade to get out of that slum that I put myself in because I started so early because I was so immature.
And listen, that really shows is because you have a real calm kind of collected knowledge of how to run a show, how to treat people, how to network with people, and that seems to only be able to be learned through experience. So my next question is for both of you, how did you guys meet?
In my backyard, I believe.
Yeah. So I was doing a show. I'd beat up some promoter at some point in time, got into a real fight with a wrestling promoter. So I hadn't wrestled in a long time, and somebody invited me on a show just to be a character, be the commissioner type character or whatever.
Yeah. And
while I was backstage at the show, a mutual friend of Mike's and mine's, Nestor, who's SoCal Crazy here in San Diego, he was pointing at, I think there was an advertisement in the Reader or Union Tribune, something like that, just saying, wrestling training, and that was Mike's house. And yeah, I showed up there probably was Saturday morning with my girlfriend at the time in tow, just to his front door. Are you training? Are you training wrestlers?
Yeah, and I had the backyard set up all ready to go, and everybody started coming over. I had a little crew in the backyard. My idea was whenever I brought wrestling to San Diego, I was, I drugged my wrestling ring out, and I told myself, I says, I'm going to build my own wrestling characters. I'm going to build my own wrestling crowd, and I'm probably going to build my own wrestling competition. And that all happened. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy the way that all that really came together. We started doing elementary schools, and the guys that didn't want to do kid stuff, they was wanting to break tables and chairs. Mace was one of the ones that always, wanted to break a chair. And I finally got him out of that. But it was fun times, bad times, but more than anything, the kids got the payoff.
Right.
And the wrestlers, they got to wrestle. And I got to, put on a little show, and I thought it was, pretty cool. I was proud to do it, and to come back to San Diego and see these guys still, kicking around doing what they're doing, it's, it's amazing. It's exactly what I pictured, only better.
Yeah, and I think I noticed that about more successful productions, or at least ones that are like more welcome in a lot of places, is they're kid friendly, at least in enough so that they can get a reasonably aged kid in there, because that's where a lot of the money is. And also, like, parents love being able to slap their kids in front of something and saying, "Be busy for an hour."
Yeah, and they've missed out on that, man. Back in the day, back when I was a kid, we used to have wrestling, and grandparents and all the way down to the grandchildren would sit in front of the TV and they'd watch, the wrestling show. And back then, of course, you had to say, "Hey, is this fake or is this for real?" And me and my uncle had many, many good times in front of the TV, watching that kind of stuff. And I was hoping to bring that back, and it has. I mean, it's really come back. Whenever he started doing the elementary schools, this is what I was thinking to myself, is I was going to teach the kids right from wrong. Have the good guys and the bad guys, and the good characters and the bad characters. And, this isn't what you want to be like, and this is what you want to be like. And that's what I was thinking I was going to teach them. And whenever we started the show, Mace will even tell you, they would tell the parents, who would cheer for the bad guys.
Yeah.
They would, correct them and let them know exactly where you're, supposed to be and rooting for. So what it taught me and made me feel a lot better about is children do know right from wrong, and they probably know it better than we do.
Oh, that's sweet, actually. What would you say, Mason, you learned from Mike? What were some big about wrestling or life or whatever?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because that's something I wanted to circle around back to. When you talked about that, I have, I guess, a more even-keeled, trying to give back as much as I can kind of demeanor towards wrestling and the wrestling business and Super Awesome Showdown. And a lot of, I can say, my turnaround, I don't know, personality-wise or professional-wise, I can credit to Mike's mentorship, on all kinds of things, not just technique in the ring, which I learned a ton from, but even more just like how to talk to people, how to approach the matches, and how to approach the business side, like how to actually make a little bit of, my gas money back,
Yeah.
and maybe a little extra, without, and to get into critiquing kind of the scene here a bit. One of the things that I recognize about the California scene is the fan base, I don't want to say the fan base, but they give a lot more than they get out. People kill themselves for the fans, for tiny paydays and tiny paychecks. And the fans, that's what the fans have grown to expect as well, and it's almost this, for me, it almost seemed like this no-win situation. And, Mike, coming from a different paradigm, from a different, territory where they work things differently, was able to, show me and all the guys who work at Super Awesome Showdown that there's a different path that's, safer, and you're just as good to the fans, but you're not killing yourself, giving the last ounce of everything you've got every night for nothing, to come home with just injuries and regret or whatever.
Yeah, and I've seen that in the, hang on, I think there we go, a little better. My mic was a little off there. I've seen that in other promotions, people just going all out, and it does look awesome, but in the end of the day, they're sitting there, at least, maybe some of them have the wherewithal to ice themselves down, but other times they don't. And they're breaking stuff, they're getting kicked out of venues. Like I ref for True Grit, and they just broke a bunch of some VA's chairs, and I don't think they're ever coming back there again. And it shows a lack of awareness of your overall situation, that you may need to work that venue again, or that you may need to take care of yourself in the near future, or in the far future too. And I think I see that here. Is we're saying don't jump off the top rope all the time. We don't need to land on a table. Everyone's going to be there to catch you if you fall out of the ring. All sorts of stuff just designed to make sure that we can, like you say, pick up your kid when you're older. Mm-hmm. And I really like that attitude about this whole this production here. We don't need to like razor blade ourselves to make it look.
No. I've seen that done so many times. Matter of fact, I've had that done to me.
Yeah.
And I was in a cage match, and Bill Payne's the one that pulled the razor blade out and ran it across my forehead.
I think that was the fight you got into, Mason. You mentioned it was someone tried to like hard way cut you with a cowbell.
Yeah, that was the promoter that I got into a real fight with, and I went into one of my many years of quitting the wrestling business over that promoter trying to for me it wasn't because just to be fair to the way the business is, and especially at the time that was like the early 2000s. The ECW was done, but its impact was still rolling through the business by that point. But so them wanting to do that, but because we had agreed beforehand, we're not going there. We're not, showing color, blading, whatever terms you want to use, before the match. And then he tried to take liberties with me after, when we were in the ring.
Right.
Is where, he kind of crossed the line for me. And then I, definitely crossed the line back because I walked out of that building before he walked out of the ring.
Wow. So, I mean, honestly, like being angry and maybe even fighting him, like from my perspective, I think that's like not an unreasonable response. But also, I think there's a showmanship element that I'm not entirely like 100% on. Being like a referee / podcaster / like promoter, or not even promoter, like a producer, I'd say at this show now.
Producer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can, now I might have been 20, I might have been 19 when that happened. I'm not 100. I was definitely super young, and that was part of my young hothead days. I'd say, there are definitely ways that I think about now where I could have handled that situation where people could have remained safe. The guy I was working with could have remained safe. I could have remained safe, but at the time there didn't seem to be any other option but to.
Well, there's a lot of times out there also whenever you've got another wrestler that is just like that. I mean, they just go out and they just beat up another guy for no reason. The payoff's not anymore. But what it is I believe they're trying to build a reputation, and it's sad because it's a bad reputation to build. When I go out there, I like to have a good time when I wrestle. I want to have a good time. The referee, I want him to have a good time. I want the people to have a good time. But above all, I don't want to ever want to hurt anybody, in a wrestling show. And it's, you're supposed to, I know it's a dangerous sport, but the fans are supposed to feel safe.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I guess my next question is a little more back to the practical side. The Colorado Kid, any kind of inspiration for him? He's a real, I mean, like in story wise, he's just a panner from like, or 49er from back in the day, but is did you base him on anyone, or did you just come up from historical perception?
Just historical. He comes from way back.
And that's the great thing about our production is you can just have a guy who is just a 49er who for some reason knows how to wrestle. That's what I like about that.
Yeah, and I mean I'm going to blow the gimmick here, but we get a kick out of it because Mike was the NWA champion as the Colorado Kid. But that was, the hometown hero of Colorado, on the wrestling circuit, but being able to take that name, the Colorado Kid, and kind of, because our show, we've got, the over-the-top characters and the comic book movie kind of styling. So being able to take, use, what
was already existing.
Yeah, and spin it in a hopefully, it looks like Mike's having fun with it.
Oh, I'm having a good time.
That looks like a ton of fun.
I'm sure it's the Colorado Kid, the Go Panner, is my great grandpa.
Okay, so like this podcast will come out probably 2 weeks after the show. The show itself, Cosmic Horror. So I don't think we're gonna run into any real spoiler territory if you give us a little bit about what your matches are going to entail this tonight. So how about we start with Mace? What's the story behind your match?
Okay, so if you got, the previous show, the Colorado Kid ended up with the Quasar Codex or the Quasar Crystal of Life. Or maybe he found it. I don't remember. But anyways, he's got it. He's got it at the beginning of this show.
It's mine.
Yeah. And
the magic medicine man.
Yeah.
Sold it. Yeah.
Okay.
He was not too happy because I lost my gold pen to Vic Valentine.
Yeah. And so what was your plan for that crystal? How are you using all the mystical power of
I am going to
life?
stand in front of Tango Del Rey until it's built. I've been sent back to the past, so I'm waiting. I'm not sure how it's going to come out.
From 1819 to 2019 or something like that.
Yeah, Victor came back through a shortcut. You're taking the long way back.
Yeah, I'm going to be. Yeah, it's going to be a long wait, but it'll be my turn whenever it comes time.
That's the deal about with Super Awesome Showdown is like the proliferation of time travel devices is just insane. Like this Hollywood actor has a remote that just can teleport a gold panner through time.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing because I told the guys back whenever I had the idea of doing cartoon wrestling, and that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah.
I told them, I says, with technology today, we can wrestle anywhere. If we want to wrestle on the moon, we can wrestle on the moon. And they have taken that, and this is far and beyond the moon.
That's another one of the things I really like about this is we're not afraid to just say, you want to wrestle a dinosaur? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, so that's how he's getting back, and he's looking for Vic Valentine, right? Because he's trying to reclaim his property.
Yep.
But living forever is Vladimir Tempest. So kind of considers that a gimmick infringement, or it's maybe a class issue where you got to be of a certain status or stature to deserve
that bastard
to live forever, everlasting life. That's only for the few, and Colorado.
I guess I'm not part of it, but I've got the crystal, and I've waited for a long time to see Vic Valentine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you're going to have satisfaction.
Yeah, you're going to one way or we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait for tonight because really our special shows like the Halloween shows or the G6s or anything where there's a gimmick or the Space Loves, those seem to be a special kind of show where we cut loose in a different way. Normally we cut loose in just a go out there way, but then we pick a theme sometimes, and that's what I really love is those theme episodes basically. So Horror Night is great. Last time I got to do some decorations, and we had these great like movie references, and I really love that. So any references you're looking for? Where'd you draw references from for this show?
Oh man, for this we did. So probably one of the things we kind of took some inspiration from was the writings of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And that's, we've got this kind of Halloween horror themed show, but I believe the plan is to try to see if we can swing what happens tonight and kind of take that cosmic horror idea that H.P. Lovecraft started, 100 years ago in his writings, and see if we can stretch that kind of fear or that kind of villainy or that kind of thought through a whole season of shows through next year.
I think there's enough material there for a whole season. I really do. And I was there for some of that planning. Yeah, I'm really excited about that actually. So I'm really itching for that. All right, listen, we've been going for about 20 minutes. Is there anything else you guys would like to say or anything else you guys want to touch on before we maybe move on to maybe just a little bit of news?
Super Awesome Showdown is super freaking awesome.
It's right in the name.
No, just keep on coming out. I'm excited. I believe our first show's starting next January, so excited to start the new season off tonight, and then see everybody next year.
Yeah.
And if anybody's at home and they're thinking, well, maybe one of these days I'll go out there and see them, you ought to do it like right now. Any chance, you get to see these guys live. I mean, it's some incredible stuff. Whenever I first came out here, that's all I'd done was watch, because I didn't want to taint it and turn it into work.
Oh yeah.
But it's really enjoyable, and I get a kick out of it.
All right, you know what? We've been going for long enough. We're not going to do any news today because we've got a whole busy day ahead of us, and I think we got enough content for our listeners. So thank you for tuning in to the Transmit Podcast. I'm your host, Spike.
I'm Mason.
The Colorado Kid Mike Rapada.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Have a good one.